So they're talking about bipartisanship and whether the Democrats need to reach out to the right more. It's on Scarborough's program on MSNBC. And Mark Halpern is on. You know how I feel about him. And John Heilemann, who wrote the book with him, is on. He's going to come in at the very end of this, but Halpern and Scarborough are doing most of the talking here. And this is classic mainstream media 101. The Democrats are too liberal, and they needed to go way, way, way further to the right, and that would cure their problems. Shocking. I didn't see that coming. I can't believe the mainstream media went in that direction. Look at these guys lie to you. Clip number 2.
As I said before, the closer they get to getting 3 Republicans, 10 Republicans, the leadership to cooperate, the more the left will go crazy. And if they want to get something done, they still need a majority.
Do you really think the left will go as crazy after they lost Massachusetts as they would have before
Every
then?
indication of how they've reacted since then, I believe, suggests that they will. They do not want a compromise. Anything that even Olympia Snowe is for, or even now that Ben Nelson is for, a lot of people on the left are just against.
Do they not understand, though, that Ben Nelson took a vote in Nebraska? This is the thing that's so astounding to me. You read some prominent left-wing blogs. They've been attacking Ben Nelson the entire time, calling him a corporate pig, saying that he's a traitor to the cause. He votes for health care reform. Do they not understand in Nebraska? His political career is over. Mark it down. Circle the date I said it. Ben Nelson's political career is over, and I hope some of the bloggers feel good because a Republican's going to own that seat for the next 50 years. Don't they understand they have to compromise?
I don't see any indication that they do, nor do I think they understand that they can't get the votes now for a public option. Do they think they're going to be closer to getting those votes in November and January after there's a new Congress?
Ted Kennedy's seat is now Scott Brown's seat.
Right.
Evan Bayh is fighting for his political life.
They're moving farther away from what they want.
They will never get Evan Bayh's vote again on the type of health care bill they got before, because Evan Bayh, because of that vote, now is and you could say the same for Mary Landrieu. You could say the same for our friend in Missouri, Claire McCaskill. You could say the same for a lot of Blanche Lincoln. And I'll guarantee you the other Nelson in Florida has been watching what's been going on. And Bill Nelson, he ain't going to be lurching left because he's up in 2012 as well.
Yeah, go ahead, John. And the left is mad at Obama, even for talking this way. They're mad at Obama. They think that even this talk is ridiculous, that he should just do reconciliation and pass the health care bill now. It's a fantasy.
Boy, they're going to drive, Dylan, they're going to drive Barack Obama's administration and the Democratic majority off the cliff if they don't wake up.
All right. By the way, conservatives say all the time, MSNBC is liberal. They have a 3-hour block in the morning which just regurgitates the Republican talking point, one after another, after another, after another. I mean, they might as well have John Boehner and Mitch McConnell host that show. Okay, so now let's break down all the falsehoods they had in there. First of all, the left is against anything that Olympia Snowe or Ben Nelson says. Yeah, we're idiots. We just, what is it? Oh, no, then I'm against it if Snow's for it. No, we look at what it is. If you're in favor of something that makes sense, then I'm in favor of it. In fact, I've given credit to Senator Shelby in the past when he came out in favor of some of the financial reforms, which now he's backtracked on. Senator McCain has worked with Senator Cantwell. No, you look at the actual content, unlike you knuckleheads, right? The reason we're against Snowe and Ben Nelson in that particular case is because they wanted to kill the public option, which is going to introduce competition and lower the costs, because we're interested in lowering costs and lowering the deficit, okay? Now, if you were a conservative, you would agree with us, but of course you're not. You're a corporatist. That goes to the most important point. They pretend as if Evan Bayh and Ben Nelson and Olympia Snowe and all these people are quote-unquote centrists. And if the Democrats aren't centrists like them, well, then they're the loony left, and that, they go crazy. The left will go nuts. Like, we're not paying it, like, we don't pay any attention to the issues. We don't know what we're talking about. We're like children, right? No, you're the one misrepresenting the facts. The fact is, all those people are not centrists. They don't have a conservative ideology. They don't have a moderate ideology. They have an ideology of, well, first of all, it's not an ideology. It's, how can I please the corporate lobbyists better? Because the public option, as an example, lowers the deficit by hundreds of billions of dollars, according to the CBO. Okay? Now, the conservative position would be to support that. Or at least you could certainly make an argument for that. But they don't make that argument. They say, like Joe Lieberman, for example, says, I'm against the public option because I want to lower the deficit. Well, then you're lying, right? So why is he lying? Because the real interests that they represent are the health insurance companies, the drug companies that pay them millions of dollars. They give millions of dollars to their campaigns. But Joe Scarborough is never going to tell you that. Mark Halpern's never going to tell you that, because their agenda is, no, pretend the corporate policies and what the lobbyist special interest desires are what are moderate, reasonable, and centrist. And that if you don't agree with that, well, then you're crazy. And that you're not really thinking about the issue, and you don't understand politics. Well, that brings us to reconciliation. At the end there, Heilemann says, oh, that's a fantasy. Really? When the Republicans were in charge, it was perfectly practical. It wasn't a fantasy. They passed the largest tax cuts in history through reconciliation. But when the Democrats are in charge, don't you even think about it. That's a fantasy. No. Republicans are allowed to use it. You're not allowed to use it. Of course you could use reconciliation. And if you do, I get that Ben Nelson has issues at home. Now, partly because he never makes his own case. He doesn't make the progressive case. We just ran an ad of Ben Nelson's, and he was talking about how the Republicans are right about everything. Well, if you don't make your case, of course you're going to lose. And then point number two is, look, even if he made the best case, in Nebraska, the conservative movement has tied itself to the corporate interests through the Rush Limbaughs, et cetera, so much that he might lose. So if Nelson votes against the bill, the health care bill, I understand, okay? And would I rather have Nelson than a Republican in that seat? Yes, I would. And I've talked about that many times. Okay, so then what do? You go to reconciliation, so you don't need Ben Nelson's vote. So you say, Ben Nelson, Mary Landrieu, Blanche Lincoln, if you think that's what you got to do to collect your lobbyist cash to fund your campaigns and to pretend you're a conservative when you're not really a conservative, okay, have at it, Hoss. I don't need your votes. I only need 51 votes. Now, there is no reason why you can't go through reconciliation, and the Bush administration did it over and over again. And the same talking heads said, oh, it's brilliant, it's strong, that's the way you do it. So they're lying to you, and then pretending that the other side doesn't know what it's talking about. And these guys either A, don't have any idea what they're talking about and don't know a thing about politics, or B, are purposely misleading.